All right, everybody, today is the World Cup final, Argentina versus France. Later on today, I have put together 5 tactics for you guys to use in your FM23 saves. We've got 3 for Argentina and 2 for France. Ones that they've kind of done throughout the tournament, and then I'll discuss which one I think each country should go with ahead of the final later on this afternoon. Now, I want Argentina to win, but what I would like you to do is let me know down in the comments who you would like to see win the trophy later on today. All right, guys, let's get into it. As always, the tactics are available for my Patreons. Link down in the description to that. Go check that out. The Patreon is growing really quickly now. I've got the tactics on there, so I appreciate your guys' support. If you can't afford it, don't worry. I will go through each tactic. We'll go through the player roles. A lot of the team instructions are the same, with just a few little tweaks. We'll go through all the ins and outs of these 5 World Cup tactics. All right, guys, let's get into it. We're going to do Argentina first. Okay, so 3 systems that Scaloni has kind of used throughout the World Cup. We've got a 4-4-2 mid-block. We've got a 4-4-2 with a little bit of a higher press, and then we've got the 3-5-2 that they've swapped around. They did that against Netherlands in the quarterfinals, quarterfinals. So we'll go to the first one. Now, the one I have done throughout most of the World Cup is this tactic here. It has worked a little bit better in the match engine, I'll be totally honest. And this is the tactic that I would like them to go against France. We've obviously got the first one. If we go through the first one, we have obviously a sweeper keeper on defend. That is normally Martinez. No player instructions. Right fullback, obviously you're looking at players such as Montel and Molina. 2 centre-halves will probably be Romero and Otamendi. And then left-back, you've got Tagliafico, and you've also got Acuna as well. Now, the middle 2 has been difficult because they have been playing an FM superstar in Enzo Fernandez, in particular over the last sort of like 3 or 4 games. Now, he's got an interesting role because he does drop in at times to make a back 3. Now, he doesn't go into the middle. He normally drifts out to this left-hand side to make a 3, and it pushes the full-backs on. I haven't been able to replicate that in the game. He often, when he plays as a half-back in this, he still goes and sits in the middle, which is a little bit annoying. I was hoping with that and the player instruction of stay wider would mean that he would drop into these areas. He doesn't do that, unfortunately. So that's been an issue. Also, even when he does drop into these areas, he does get forward a little bit. So it's a really complicated role in this particular system, in this first tactic, when they're playing a little bit of a mid-block. So something for you maybe to play with. By all means, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. What has Fernandez been playing at? Obviously, they've changed roles a lot. The other tactic, we've got him as a Mazzala because he does get into these spaces a little bit and gets in and around the penalty area. So that is the Fernandez. Alongside him, we've got Paredes, very solid, very defensively. I wonder how long it takes him to kick Mbappe, playing in this right side of the 4-4-2 Argentina. No player instruction for him. Now, the wide players have been interesting ones. They are sitting quite narrow. Obviously, Di Maria's been injured, so they've been playing with Rodrigo de Paul out on this right-hand side. Obviously, in FM terms, he doesn't really suit it. With no player instructions, they naturally will invert. Okay, so they end up sort of like playing not like a 4-2-2, but they do get into sort of like the half spaces. They're getting around these areas a lot. And then on the other side, they've had McAllister. Now, unfortunately, McAllister wasn't named in the squad from the database that I downloaded. So for the World Cup, I've been using Di Maria and Lo Celso. I think Lo Celso played a lot out here on the left-hand side in qualifying. And obviously, he's done that on a regular basis, I think, when he was at Villarreal as well. Now, on this left-hand side, we have put it on attack, and we've got the instruction of get further forward. Just by looking at some of the heat maps and stuff from some of the games, just this left-hand side with McAllister's just got slightly higher than Rodrigo de Paul. Rodrigo de Paul often drops in. McAllister often drops in. And then what we're trying to recreate with that is because they're coming in narrow, and then we've got the fullback on attack and the wing-back on support getting round and overload, and they do like to push their fullbacks high. They're the players that create, and they're the players that create stuff in wide areas. And then up front, it has to be, obviously, Lionel Messi playing as a trequartista. This is FM Trek. The channel used to be called FM Trequartista. I finally managed to deliver something in terms of decent numbers. It's maybe because it's Messi, but he's had actually a really good World Cup. And then pressing forward, it has been Julian Alvarez. However, for most of the World Cup, in particular the knockout stages, we went with Lautaro Martinez just because Alvarez is not as good as Martinez in the game. All right, so those are the player instructions, the player roles. There's nothing there for the others. Very limited, very basic. Right, Moving on to the team instructions. So balanced mentality, quite a simple, steady, structured tactic. We're not going too crazy. Slightly more direct. We've got overlaps left and right just to really encourage, obviously, when the player comes in with the two wide playmakers coming in narrow, I want to encourage those overlaps a little bit. They will do it naturally, but I just want to force it a little bit more. Low crosses into the box and work into the box. Obviously, Alvarez, Martinez, Messi not great in the air, so we're going to work it into the box, and obviously low crosses as well when we do it. Slightly more direct. That is just so we can counter. They've often looked for an Alvarez in the channels, getting the ball into Messi as quickly as possible as well. So we're just going slightly more direct. Their possession numbers haven't been massive either. Slightly higher tempo. Time wasting sometimes. In transition, we've got no counter press. I think because Messi was there. Alvarez is doing a fantastic job as working as a foil in this 4-4-2 for Messi. But we are going to do a counter press. Try and get them into. I didn't want to go as far as regroup, but I just thought I'd leave that off. Counter attack is on. They've counter-attacked superbly at times with Messi and Alvarez. And then slow the pace down for goalkeeper in possession with no distributing part here. He has sprayed it generally quite long. He does look out to left. Depending on how the play is, depending on where Messi is, where Alvarez is, he does tend to go long, but I've just left that blank. And then out of possession, we've got a mid-block, get stuck in. As soon as that ball goes in that middle third, Fernandez, Rodrigo de Paul, Paredes, all been very good. Even Alvarez has done a really good job of picking up sort of like a deeper playmaker, like a number 6. He's done really well on that. And then trap outside. We're going to force the play to the side and then squeeze and play quite narrow. Now, the little tweaks that we've made for this one is same rules in terms of the fullbacks and the wide areas, the forward rules. We've just brought the two DMs up to the midfield. And then we've got Fernandez now playing as a Mazzala. I want this to be the tactic that Argentina go with at the start of the final. I think if Argentina can get in front, I think that's going to be key. France have done very well. For me, France have been very lucky and rode their luck at times, in particular against England. I think if England would have got their noses in front in the game, we might have seen a different France. I think if Argentina, once again, can get their noses in front, and then we'll see what France are really made of. They'll have to come out and play a little bit more. The instructions are the same for in possession and in transition. The only change that we've made is a high press and a higher line with a positive mentality, just to get up the pitch a little bit. I think if you play in FM, you need a couple of variations. This one has generally worked the better in the game, I'll be totally honest. And then the other one, they played it in the quarters against Netherlands. They shut up shop as well a couple of times, and they've used it. I've used it as well towards the end of a couple of games. It's a back three, low block as well, being quite compact, trying to hit on the break. Nothing's changed up there. We've got a Mazzala on attack. They still were quite attacking. You know, there was Fernandez, McAllister and Rodrigo de Paul in here. So quite technical. We've gone with a double 8, double Mazzala, one on support, one on attack, just to give us a little bit of variation. That should be wing back on support. Apologies for that. There you go. With a simple back three, one as a cover. Generally Otamendi. Martinez has gone out to our left-hand side, and then the ball-playing defender of Romero. There's an argument you could probably do Martinez as well on that left-hand side as a ball-playing defender. Okay, so there you go. There is the Argentinian tactics. There's no different playing instructions in these as well. They're all just set to standard. Quite a simple formation. Not the most gung-ho. However, I think if you're playing as an underdog in your saves, having these 3 tactics and having a little shuffle round definitely works in your favour. Now, we, unfortunately, got knocked out in the quarterfinals by England. 2 set pieces. We've struggled with set pieces. We've conceded 2 set pieces against Lewandowski, a corner, free header at the back stick, and then a penalty. We conceded a set piece as well against Mexico, and then conceded 2 in the first 21 minutes. We did respond quite well. We got back into it, but we just couldn't force that equaliser. Saudi Arabia, we kicked off quite well. 3-2, we were 3-0 up. Then obviously a disappointing defeat against Poland. We responded really well. A 4-1 win over Mexico. Martinez and Messi getting a brace each. And then the most impressive result was actually a 3-1 win over France. Christian Romero got sent off on 39 minutes. We'll watch the goals. We'll watch the goals. So Otamendi lost the ball. Was it a back pass? It was. It was a back pass heading towards. It was awful. That kicked it off 7 minutes, and I thought we were in for a world of pain. And then to make it even worse, on 39 minutes, Romero decided to do this. Just a 2-footed lunge into the calves of Griezmann, and we were down to 10 men. However, we responded really well, and just after the red card, we got ourselves level. Pavard had an absolute mare, and the gift for Lautaro Martinez winning. Probably got it back because Mbappe did the same to us. And then just before half-time, Messi free kick, Enzo Fernandez made it 2. And then to make it even better, the final goal was a beautiful, well-worked goal. Martinez winning it, Messi turning, releasing Enzo Fernandez. And what about that for a pass? Martinez in, smashing it, 3-1. We knocked out France. However, England were just a little bit too strong. And to be fair, it was probably a deserved 3-2 win for England. Okay, that is Argentina. Let's just have a little quick look at Messi, just so you can see how well he actually did. His World Cup form was five games. Maximum rating, have got a perfect 10. Minimum rating 7. Average rating 7.98 with 5 goals scored and 4 assists. 9 goal contributions. As a trequartista in FM is pretty impressive. So I was really happy that I managed to get that working. Okay, so that is Argentina. Now we're going to move over to France. Very similar. They're both 4-2-3-1s with just one tweak. And I think it's a big tweak. Potentially what I think Deschamps should maybe go with against Argentina later on today. Okay, so this is the 4-2-3-1 that France have generally been doing during the World Cup. However, this is the 4-2-3-1 Giroud. However, I have got a 4-2-3-1 Thuram. I think potentially there has been a little bit of a rumour that this may happen, and I think because Mbappe and Giroud are not very good pressers, I did really like the impact of Thuram on France when he came on against Morocco in the semi-final. I think it just gives them a little bit more of an edge. He's quite good defensively. I think it also gives them that little bit of flexibility. If Thuram does play, now unfortunately Thuram isn't in the bloody squad with this database that I downloaded, but if we just use, for argument's sake, because I have been using Benzema in this little play out that I've done, and I've swapped him around. So what I have done is played Benzema as an inside forward, just because he does that better than my other choice, which was Martial. And I think they've got the flexibility of swapping Mbappe and Thuram over on certain occasions, and I think it will give them a little bit more on the break. They're still going to sit in. They're going to be quite boring. I'm really disappointed that France are going to win World Cup again with a fantastic squad. However, the football was it's been pretty smelly, hasn't it, throughout? But in terms of FM, it's actually worked pretty well. So we'll go to the basic one to start with. This is the one that we sort of like used Giroud in. So sweeper keeper, Lloris, on support, no player instructions. Jules Koundé, fullback on support with the player instruction of sit narrower. Varane, central defender on defend. Upamecano, Kanate, whoever the other one is, central defender on defend, no player instructions. And then wing back on defend, either Teo or Luca Fernandez. I'm being quite disappointed by Teo Hernandez. I was really looking forward to him. He's obviously a very different role because he's had Mbappe in front of him. He's had to be, I'll just get his brother out. He's had to be quite defensive. He hasn't bombed forward as much as that we see in Milan. And then it's kind of, I thought, against England, when he was playing up against Saka, it did show his defensive frailties a little bit. Now, into the midfield, I did have to play Camavinga because Tchouaméni was injured, but we did have Tchouaméni as a defensive midfielder on defend. And then on to Rabiot. We've got him as a volante. He has, to be fair, had a really good World Cup. He's got a couple of goals. He had that chance against England from bursting from deep. So I think it suits him really well. And then moving on to the big four, we've got Dembele as a simple winger on support. Griezmann as an attacking midfielder on support with instructions to mark tighter and tackle harder. Just see if we can get him with those defensive responsibilities a little bit more. Kylian Mbappe on the left-hand side, inside forward on attack. And then the target forward, which would have been Giroud. Target man, obviously, on support. Balanced team instructions, they haven't been that adventurous, they haven't been that impositive, so balance is probably a fair way to go, maybe even cautious at times during games. In possession instructions, standard width, passing to space, so we can try and hit Dembele and Mbappe on the break. Play out of defence with this here. Now, I've gone for focus down the right, which may seem as strange because obviously Mbappe is on the left, but what they've kind of done is he's tried to force a play down to the right and then try and get a switch into the other side to try and get a 1v1 with Mbappe against a fullback. I will put up now a couple of play areas from a couple of the games, I think against Morocco and England, just to show that they have generally forced the play down the right hand side. So we've got that on. Slightly higher tempo. just so we can get that transition a little bit quicker, see if we can get that ball into Mbappe, and especially if we go on the other tactic as well, very important. I haven't put time wasting on, but something that they probably have done on occasions, especially when they've been leading games, so maybe something to alter in and out of games. In transition, we're asking them to counter. Not much of a counter press because Dembele, to be fair to Dembele, his defensive duties, especially against England in the first half, I thought he did a decent job. But Mbappe and Giroud are not great pressers, so I've left that off. A counter-attack, obviously, with the wide players and Griezmann. Distribute the ball to the centre-halves and we're rolling it out. Out of possession, a very simple mid-block, trapping outside, stopping crosses. All right, now the only other tweak that we have done is the Thuram, where Thuram would come out to this left-hand side if we use Benzema, and then Mbappe would be the central striker. I think this is the one that they should go with. They should leave Giroud out and go with Thuram and Mbappe and have them moving around just to have a little bit more going forward. As I said, they've rode their luck. They've scored at really good times. Like the goals that they scored against England came at a perfect time. Is it all to plan? Is there an element of luck? Maybe a little bit of the both. I just think Argentina would be more worried about having someone of like Thuram, who's 6'4", got a little bit of pace as well, and Mbappe at the same time. I think Giroud would be a good option later on if they are pushing for an equaliser. Maybe Argentina are getting into that deep block. Can we get Giroud on to hit that penalty spot, get some balls in the box and maybe go a little bit more direct later on? That's what I would do. Let me know what you would do. You're a manager of Argentina and France. Let me know down in the comments, how would you set the team up based on generally the tactics that I've done. I don't think there's going to be too many variations on this. Will Argentina go with a back three? Hopefully not. I hope they really go for that second tactic and push on. Now, the World Cup not simulation, by the way. Sorry, I played the games. Has gone pretty well. We won the World Cup. We started with a 1-1 draw against Denmark. An absolute thunder bastard from Delaney. Camavinga, 57, getting a deserved equaliser. We smashed Australia 4-1. Goals from Mbappe, Dembele, Benzema. 2-1 Tunisia. Went 1-0 down. But we managed to qualify top of the group with a goal from Mbappe and Benzema. 4-1 against Mexico. 2 for Benzema, 1 for Mbappe, 1 for Griezmann. England, which is probably the toughest one in Football Manager. 2 goals from Kylian Mbappe. We were 2-0 up after 7 minutes. Koundé coming down the right-hand side. Lovely cross. Benzema nods it down. Mbappe is there. You can imagine Thuram getting in at that back stick. I think Thuram's like 6'3", 6'4". And then we win it off Harry Kane. Rabiot into Benzema. Lovely shot. Good save from the goalkeeper, but Mbappe was there to tap it in. We then beat Croatia 3-2, 1-0 Mbappe, then Kamaric equalised. We went 2-1 up, 3-1 up, and then Amaya scored on 86 to give us a nervy end, but very much well deserved. And then the final went a little bit crazy. We beat Spain 6-0. Mbappe scoring a hat-trick, Griezmann scoring and Karim Benzema getting a couple. I think also Mbappe missed, on this game as well, Mbappe actually missed a penalty. Mbappe finished with some decent numbers. 7 games, maximum rating 10, minimum rating 7, average rating 8.21. Goals scored 10, assists for 14 goal contributions for this man who I just don't like. He's obviously a world-class footballer, probably the best player in the world, but he just annoys me. He's arrogant. I don't like him. And let me know down in the comments what you think of Mbappe. Right, that is the 5 tactics. Go and put them in. Let me know how you get on. I think the French ones work a bit better with a couple of tweaks as well. You could really get maybe a little bit more going forward, maybe changing that mentality, keep the back 4 nice and steady. You've got that nice double pivot in there as well. And obviously, if you've got a superstar like Mbappe to get on the end of things, you'll be good to go. And if you do want the tactics to download, Patreon link down in the description, £3 a month. You've got loads of different other tactics and filters and all sorts if you become a Patreon on the channel. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Smash a like on today's video as well. That'd be muchly appreciated.